All right, so let's talk about a topic that definitely goes along and coincides with this whole new entrance and announcements that Audi has officially announced its entry into Formula One. Porsche also will be coming into Formula One 2026 as the new regs are introduced and things will change for existing teams that are on the grid. Now, this is the situation as it sits. Well, this is the problem, and problems can be solved. Will Formula One solve these problems? I do not think so. The problem that I have with Audi and Porsche, though, well, let's say this, let's be a little bit more accurate. I have a problem with the way things have developed as to Audi and Porsche's entrance with the help and assistance of the FIA and Formula One. They have elected to change the regulations and the way Formula One has been running for the past few years in order to facilitate the entry of Audi and Porsche. This was heavily talked about in this morning's press conference as Audi made their announcement. Both representatives spoke heavily to the fact that they would not have entered into Formula One if the guidelines or regulations had not been changed. And because those regulations have been changed, this is the reason why they were able to enter. This is the reason why they feel so confident about their entrance. This is the reason why they have decided to move forward as becoming part of Formula One. Why in the hell is it that Mario Andretti cannot get favored with his ability and his request on entering Formula One? That is what I really want to talk about. I think it is shameful. I think it is disrespectful. I do not think it is something that should be happening. I think there should have been a little bit more support about Mario and Michael being in Formula One, bringing their team, bringing that aspect to the grid. They've been successful in other areas that they've participated in. And Andretti is a household name. Andretti is a wholesome name. Andretti is a name that many people respect. Even if you don't know a lot about racing, you hear Andretti, shit, the name itself just sounds like sheer performance. Like, who the hell hasn't been to Andretti's lab? Who hasn't been karting there? Okay, like, let's just stop like acting like Andretti is not up to the level to be participating in Formula One. There are some things that have been said by Stefano and Toto and other teams as to this happening. And one thing that is important is because money is always important. Money is always important when these things come about, right? Certain things can be overlooked for money, and bad people can do good things when it is about money. Like people that normally don't have good character, personality, or integrity, if it's about money, they'll make good moves or good notions because money is involved, right? People need to have character and integrity regardless if money is and is not involved. But there is a thing called the anti-diluting fee. Okay, now this fee is basically structured. If you want to be a new entrant in Formula One, you're basically paying a membership fee to come in for the revenue that other teams will lose due to the prize money, right? That fee is about $200 million. It's about $200 million if Mario Andretti wants to enter into Formula One. That $200 million will be split between the current existing teams on the grid, I believe. If I'm not correct about this, feel free to add content, value, and information below. That this is that type of platform. I don't pretend to be the all-knowing. I'm always learning, just as you should be, and we are every day, every week, every month, all year. So $20 million per team, basically saying like, hey, I want to come in and play with you guys. Here's $20 million to let me in the club. You know, that should help you for the pie that you're going to have to split. You all have heard Bryson and I talk several times to this so-called pie, right? It's not like the pie stays the same size, okay? So your percentage of a pie that may be, your 100% of a pie that may weigh 5 pounds, right? It's not like you're going to come in and lose like percentages based on that same 5-pound pie. Eventually, initially, maybe yes, right? So that's the reason for the dilution fee, right? You're going to pay that because upon your entry, we're right then and there probably going to lose a certain amount of revenue, depending on when that starts. Okay, I get that. But as things go on, this brand that it just entered is bringing another demographic and revenue stream with them. So that pie is no longer 5 pounds. That pie could grow 6 pounds. It could grow another 1 pound. It could grow 10 more pounds. It could grow. So your same percentage of that bigger pie is actually an increased amount of revenue. So that is something that I think people look at a little bit differently. Now, it is also to say maybe the team coming in doesn't bring that big of a portion to increase this size of a pie to a percentage that exactly would make sense to the other constructors or manufacturers on the grid. Cool. Toto said that basically Toto claimed. Now let's look at this. Let's go forward and look at a little bit of this. Toto claimed that it could be possibly an amount of $1 billion if you want to be a front running kid in this organization. $1 billion. Does Andretti have access, capital, the revenue, the finance to bring $1 billion to be a front running team? But then the question also goes to say, does Andretti have to be a front-running team in order to bring money to Formula One and be competitive? I think we've all been a little bit surprised at the level of competitiveness that Haas has had, given that the new regs, the new car. Now, how long that will last, Haas actually has paired up with Ferrari for the power unit, and they've had problems already this week in practice with that, okay? By the way, I'm going to give a shout out to new members on the Quality Kickback Live. All new members that have joined recently, I will shout you out, call your name out. We've had several other members also upgrade in their levels, okay? And new emoji is out. But getting back to this, and by the way, I have plumbers in the house, so if you hear noises, they're doing their damnedest job to try to rectify this blockage that my family continues to ignore. I get a garbage disposal installed. I get all these things installed, and they still just think that the damn sink is a trash compactor and just put damn food down there, and then I had to pay these bills for the lines to be cleared out. This shit just baffles me. It's just being the man of a house just means you just pay money. But anyway, I think we need to take a listen at this video clip, because I think it says a lot about why there has been favoritism towards Audi and Porsche and their entrance and things that have been done to facilitate their interest. So let's take a look at this small clip from the press conference this morning with Audi.
Now, Mr. Duesman, do you want or do you need to make money with your commitment?
Making money is always good, but we don't need to.
All right. That was very important. Did you hear what he said? Making money is good, but no, we don't need to make money here. So to me, that is saying that, even if you come, you stink it up, you're not bringing the revenue, you're still willing to be a long-term investor in Formula One, remain on the grid, remain in the manufacturing, producing the PU, do all that, even if you're losing money. I think this right here is what the key is and why things have been done this way. I don't know Mario Andretti's financial capabilities, but I'm willing to take an educated guess to say that it is nowhere near the level of Audi, Porsche, or the Volkswagen group as a whole, okay? I think this is where the separation, I think this is where the favoritism comes. Formula One has taken it up on themselves to change these regulations to facilitate these entries because, just as many have talked about, Audi and Porsche will bring a substantial amount of investment to Formula One outside of the revenue that will come from fans, from merch sales, from anything else. Audi and Porsche are willing to fork loads of money in to be on the grid, even if things do not turn out the way they wish for a certain amount of time. The question is that certain amount of time outside of Mario's capability to remain on the grid if things are not going favorable for him? But I will also say this, right? Although Andretti not as big as the corporations as Audi and Porsche, what if Andretti, David to Goliath, was to hit the grid with their racing experience? Because let's not shit each other. Porsche and Audi have a shit ton of racing experience, okay? Maybe you haven't seen them much in Formula One. Maybe, I believe, Porsche before Formula One, way back in the day, I want to say with McLaren and the Tag I think somewhere there. I did a video on it, but let's say Mario came in and was hella competitive for some reason. Let's just say that. It's hypothetical, and maybe a big hypothetical. Could you imagine the response and shockwave of that event happening? it will be a much bigger wow factor if Andretti came in and was competitive with the big dogs versus we kind of all expect Porsche and Audi to come in and show some type of progress, right? It would be a much bigger story of them tanking, just as if like Mercedes not doing as great as they have been up until late is a big story and was a big story to the four part of this year, this season. So, Stefano said that basically if Andretti comes in, his likely path, instead of trying to come in as a total new entrant in his own team, which is why he would have to pay that $200 million, would be to acquire an already existing team and come in that way. Well, I want to say that the Alfa Romeo team, since they are separating, or they announced their separation from Sauber, is not a likely candidate for that. I would think the only two other candidates for that potential would be Haas and Williams. You can count McLaren out. You can count Ferrari out. You can count Mercedes out. You likely can even count Alpine out. You can count, you can count Red Bull out. AlphaTauri, yeah, you can count that out as well. So the likely two candidates for that are Williams and Haas at this point in time. Haas being an American-based team, that actually would be a good pairing as optics, right? Andretti on the American side being involved in Indy, Haas supposed an American team being based in the Carolinas. I'm not sure. I can't remember if it's the North or South. I want to say the North Carolina area. That would be a nice bond of partnership to bring more American to the grid of Formula One. I would like to see that. But Haas being so far involved with Ferrari as far as power units and offices and workers, I don't know how that may happen. Williams being also supposed the other American team, although UK-based, American financed here and owned by an American institution, that also might be something that could possibly happen. I don't know if Williams is yet ready to totally say give up their name, because there's no way Andretti comes in and just wants to leave the car Williams. He's likely going to say it's going to be the Andretti Motorsports theme. Is Williams prepared to give it all up and remain very unheard of in that shadow? I don't know. All right, Williams used to be a very dominant, very, very high-performing team that has long been removed from that. That could be a good thing for them. They reached out for capital and money, and they reached out for this investor, and now that's kind of financially going to tide them over to remain in Formula One, kind of under the circumstances that they would kind of prefer, So I got to see where this is going to go. But I want to say that I am, for one, a voice of letting Andretti in. This whole thing that 11 teams are not needed, I don't believe that. I think there's a nice sweet spot for 12 teams on this grid, and I think that's a good number. I run a fantasy football, and I have found 14 teams, too much. 10 teams, not quite there. It's like too much stuff to be going on, not competitive enough. Everybody can grab good players. 12 teams, just enough to have good players still out there on the waiver wire to be added. Some teams have to understand, do I want to keep this player? Do I want to get that one? It's got to be a give and take thing. I think 12 teams on the grid could be good. They've had a similar experience to this before. Those teams crashed and burned. These teams also could crash and burn. We will see. But it seems like Porsche and Audi are willing to crash and burn and still keep investing in Formula One for a good time to bleed out, but for Formula One to make good amounts of money from them, and they are okay with that. Hence why regulation changes, the acceptance of that, Audi and Porsche being so thankful for that, and why Mario Andretti is still sitting on the outside wanting to get in, and I think he should be let in. I think we should give that guy a chance, give him a shot at the grid, and see what the Andretti lane could do on Formula One. You let me know what you think below in the comment section. Like I always say, we'll be live Saturday and Sunday. Friday, it is race week. We got practice. Tomorrow, we will have the qualifying watch. So come join us live while we do that. We have a good time. And, hey, just build it. Peace. Thanks for watching another episode of Wolfpack Performance. Don't forget to check out some of my other content on Formula One and motorsports topics. Like, share, subscribe, and we go live on the weekends. See you soon.